Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of Follow Your Passion. Let me introduce my guest of today. His name is Lewis Schenk. Lewis started his entrepreneurial journey in 2018 in the events branche. When COVID hit, all events were cancelled and he knew he had to pivot his business and build a future-proof company. This led to the launch of Boost Media Agency in 2020. And 2 years later, the company has served over 1,500 clients globally by leveraging the untapped potential of PR. Welcome, Lewis. How are you doing?
Fantastic, Erwin. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive in.
So, Lewis, tell me about it. Did you always have this entrepreneurial aspirations?
No, I didn't. So I was very much driven by a more away from, meaning. I knew when I was in school, I will never forget, I would sit there in school and I would dread the thought of, year 10, then year 12 being over, then university being over. Well, I have to go and enter the real world and, get in a suit and tie every day and go and sit in a cubicle like that. That scared the life out of me. And so it wasn't so much I was like driven to be an entrepreneur. It was like, well, I knew what I didn't want. So yeah, for me, it was more not knowing what I wanted, but knowing what I really didn't want that kind of shaped those decisions.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because it's very hard for people to really know what they want. If you ask people what they want, they have no hard time telling you what they don't want, right? Just like you said, but what they really want, that's really an exploration as well. So your first business was about the events branch. How did you come to that?
Yeah, it was really kind of another opportunity meets preparation. So it was back in 2017 where I was at university. I was playing golf at a relatively high level. And I saw an ad on Facebook and it was like, for waiters for this events company. And anyway, called them up and said, hey, I'd love to work for you guys. Long story short, I saw my work ethic and I was pretty switched on, and they were starting a new business at the end of that year. And so they asked me, hey, do you want to, pretty much run our business, do all the sales, marketing? And it was so far out of my depth that I was like, hey, 100%, let's do it. And so these guys basically trained me to run their whole business. And, when I spent 4 years at university doing a degree of Bachelor of Entrepreneurship, and I learned so much more in the first month of working for these guys. Like I had no idea when I was in university what a leads list is, how to send like a professional email, how to call someone. I had no idea, but from doing that, it was so simple. And so when you understand the fundamentals from experience, then you can just take them to, your own venture, which I did. And then when I set up the next company, same thing. So yeah, I learned the skill from really doing it.
Yeah, nice. And I think that's the best way of learning it, right? It's learning by doing. And did you make a lot of mistakes when you started out?
I mean, nothing huge, but you know what it's like. You look back to where you were 2 years ago and like the types of content you were making and the way that you kind of, articulated the messaging of the company, and you kind of cringe a bit. You're like, God, I sucked. I really sucked back then. So yeah, there was nothing huge mistake wise, but yeah, just those little things that, you just get better at by the repetitions, by just, time under the bar, just doing it for, years. Exactly. And you look back and you're like, wow, I've come a long way.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason I'm asking is because a lot of people are afraid of making mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. But when you make a mistake, those are the best learnings. You do something you haven't done before. It's the first time it's logical when you make a mistake because you're doing it for the first time. But it's all about the learnings, That's how you grow and how you develop yourself. And it's what you said, it's learning by doing, you're bound to make mistakes, but that's okay, as long as you don't do it twice and you learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
when COVID hits, you knew, that you had to build a future-proof company. You came to Boost Media Agency. How did you make this transition from the events branch towards the public relationships?
Yeah, it's a good question. So to me, this just proves the power of having a really good network. So one of my best friends, was living in Canada at the time, and he essentially got into business a few years before me and got into sales, different roles, and then he ended up starting a sales agency where they were basically building sales teams for companies. And there was a PR company based over in Oregon in the United States, and they were looking for a couple of sales development representatives. And he's like, "Hey man, you want to just give this a try. I think PR is something that is really cool, and you might be interested in doing it." And so he gave me that opportunity. And like, as soon as I started working for this other company, I was like, wow, this is so exciting and cool. Like, I instantly saw the power of it and like how it could be leveraged for, small businesses. And yeah, I basically took those couple of months just to study the business in and out, kind of like I did with that events company. And then, yeah, went and did my own thing because I was like, well, I know how to run a business. I'm not going to make, 15% when I can make all of it.
Yeah, nice. So there's been a few discussions, about sales, marketing, branding, and PR. How would you define PR in relationships to branding and marketing?
Yeah, well, by definition, public relations is essentially the image that you hold with the public, right? So, yeah, it's kind of vague in that sense, but it's just how you're presented to the world. Like an example that I always give is, you could go into LinkedIn, for example, and you could see, two business owners, same business, same kind of experience. You look at one of them, they've been on all these awesome podcasts. They host a podcast themselves. They might write for an industry publication like Entrepreneur Magazine. They have a ton of really great content, right? And the other one, they haven't really posted much. They've never done any podcasts. They haven't been in any kind of media. And, all those things that first person I mentioned has done are just building their profile and building their brand, right? All the biggest brands in the world do all those things. And so, yeah, it's really about how you can position yourself in the market because, every industry is more saturated than ever. And if you don't do something to stand out, then, your competitors are literally just going to be stealing your customers. So it's like, how can you leverage these, powerful tools to build your brand? And yeah, that's kind of how I define PR.
Nice. So if I would summarize it, that PR is actually the shortcut to building a brand, right? To become authority in your own field and be recognized for that.
Yeah, spot on.
Nice. And so would you say you're leading by example? Did you build your own brand as well? Or are you, as many might say, your own worst customer?
That's an interesting one because at the start I was building my brand. I was like, I was just spending heaps of time doing it. And then there was a period of probably 6 to 12 months I really dropped off. Like, what it's like when you're building a business and like, it's yourself and maybe one or two people helping you out and you just don't have the time to do that. But it was really at the start of this year that I like to say, turn the content marketing machine on. So basically just, being as aggressive as possible in terms of like the amount of, podcasts we're getting on, the amount of, different content we're putting out, different platforms. So yeah, because it's really crazy nowadays that, short form video, right? You could post one video to one platform and get 20,000 views. You can post that same video onto the next platform and it could get 50,000 views. And so this one video that took you 2 minutes to make can reach hundreds of thousands of people. That being said, not every video is going to, go viral or do that great, but it's incredibly powerful that you can just repurpose these across all the channels and just build that brand awareness because, money follows attention. The more people that know you, the more people that like you, and the more people that trust you, the more people that are going to do business with you. So yeah, it was really the start of this year that I said I took it very, very seriously.
Yeah. And I think that you just mentioned a very important thing is repurposing, right? A lot of people, they might do an interview, and I'm guilty of that as well. I have several interviews, but repurposing is not on everybody's, within everybody's view, right? So then they're posting it once and hoping to get some leverage from that. But repurposing is actually the way to make it more consistent. Wouldn't you say?
Definitely. And you said a great word there, leverage, right? The ability to shoot one podcast, then repurpose that into 30 clips that can get seen by, 10,000 people. That's leverage right there, right? You do this once and then it's off on Tube, it's on all these platforms. And so, yeah, there's a lot of leverage when it comes to content. And I think it's a good lens to look through it. Like, because some people don't like, getting on video or putting content and stuff out there. But, with what we're mentioning here, short form video, like, yeah, you just have insane leverage.
Nice. So you're based in Australia. You're helping people globally. You've already helped over 1,500 clients, and that's an amazing number. Is there a particular case that comes to mind that you're very proud of, or that had some major success that you didn't expect at the beginning?
Yeah, so two things pop to mind. The first one is a very selfish one, and it was my first ever client in this business. And, to me, that was just like, because I had the events company, we're doing pretty decent. But then, like, it's very cliche that you hear about all these people like, you can make money just working online. And like, until you actually do it yourself, you don't know that's 100% possible. And so that for me was like a huge success, just like, proof of concept. And then secondly, there was like a tech startup that we're working with. And like, it wasn't until I sent them a survey like a month and a half later, just like asking them, how was the experience? So we had them featured in one like, industry specific publication. They got over 200 wait list signups and raised like $150,000 in funding from that one piece. And I was like, wow, why the hell didn't you tell me about this sooner? Like,
yeah.
I guess they were just too busy. But yeah, that one stood to mind. Another client, Allison, like, when you can get, I don't sell like what we do is like, hey, we're going to generate you a ton of new leads, right? Because that's not the full purpose of what we do. A lot of the benefit is indirect, right? Some of our clients, I'll get emails like, hey, Lewis, I had 2 people find me last month in an article that, we did 6 months ago because people are searching for what that person does. And one of our clients, it was really good timing. You end up getting like over 30 like bookings in a calendar within a week, all just from one, targeted PR campaign. So yeah, those 3 are the ones that spring to mind the most.
Nice. And if you look at your own company, how do you see it evolve in the coming years? You started it 2 years ago, so you know what's possible. Did you already have like a vision where you want to be in 5 years' time, or is it evolving while you're doing it?
It's really evolving while I'm doing it, but it's getting clearer. Like, I want to become synonymous with personal branding. I don't want to be a PR agency. Like, a lot of them get a bad rap in the sense that they move really slow. We've had a lot of clients move from other agencies to us because they didn't like the way the other companies worked. And so we're really focusing on the personal brand side of it, right? Like the founders of companies, typically the 1 to 20 employee range, because at that point, the founder is the biggest lead generation tool for the business, right? In the online B2B, B2C space, because, if you get a DM from a company page, or if you connect with another person, you're far more likely to talk to the person, right? Just because of that human touch, that human connection. So yeah, where I see the company going is becoming synonymous with personal branding. So whatever that involves at the time, there might be, the next thing might replace short form video and it might be something else. So it's our job to kind of stay up to date with that and just continue to, serve our clients at the highest level with that.
Nice. So you're actually looking for the new Steve Jobs and the Elon Musks of this world, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be nice to work with someone like that. But yeah, it's because that's a great example as well. Those people, not everyone would think about it like this, but they were great brand builders for themselves, right? Even like, I don't know if you mentioned Elon Musk then, but Elon, Jeff, Bezos, Steve Jobs, everyone associates their name with the company. It's not just this logo. Like, not many people would know Coca-Cola, right? Who founded Coca-Cola? I have no idea. But these other guys have done a really great job at getting, a public profile, which people develop an affinity for them. Like, Elon is a god on Twitter. People love him. He posts these ridiculous things that, people would think, God, how could a, multi-billionaire CEO post, things like that? But like, it just shows that, like, when you have that much, power and I think belief in what you do, you just don't care. Elon really doesn't care what people think.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, would you say that building a brand is important in every business, or are there certain businesses that it's even more important?
To the best of my knowledge, I would say every single business, regardless if it's a personal brand or you're actually just building the brand of the business, because the brand is why people say yes. Like to define, like I heard this really great definition on LinkedIn a few months ago. The difference between marketing and branding. Marketing is like asking someone out on a date, and the branding is the reason why people say yes, right? All these people are getting asked out on dates. Hey, buy my product. Hey, buy my product. Hey, buy my product. Right? But why do people pick one versus the other? It's often an affinity to the brand.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of a business that wouldn't benefit from it. The only kind of thing I can think of is maybe like a garbage disposal company that, just has government contracts, because they probably don't care. But I think in the modern world of business, where things are so, in the public eye, everything's on social media. Yeah, pretty much every single business needs to have, a strong brand.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned this quote, because I saw this also with some of my connections. They said, that marketing is asking somebody out on a date, and branding is the reason they say yes. And I kind of tweaked it. I said sales is asking somebody on a date, marketing is the reason they say yes, and branding is the reason they're waiting for you to ask them on a date.
Wow, I like that. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Adding a layer.
Yeah, and it's if you're thinking about big brands, it's one of the things is, for instance, Ferrari, the car brand.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to do a lot of. They've built such a brand for themselves that their marketing is only introducing a new car, and when people walk into a showroom, it's not a question if they're buying. Either they're admiring the car or they're ready to buy. You don't have to do any sales. It's more, which one do you want? And I think that's the power of branding. That it's not the question if people want to work with you. It's more that can people afford it to work with you? And I think if you build such a brand, like in the coaching industry, Tony Robbins is a great example, of course. Every time Tony goes out, I don't think there has to be a lot of marketing for his events. They're just putting in one campaign. Then it's there. And if you want to be there, buy the ticket. And that's like all there is. People are buying it because they want to be there. They want to be part of it. And I think that's the power of a brand.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the brand gives you that power in the marketplace, whether it's to charge higher prices or, command market share. But I've used this example a few times before where it's like, let's say Gary Vaynerchuk, like actually to preface that, a lot of business owners, small business owners will do organic marketing, like, some outbound lead generation, connect with other people, seeing how they can add value and help, right? Let's say Gary V was to go and do that, Hey, Erwin, you want to come in and, join my next program? I know if he didn't me, I'd be like, damn, like, where do I sign up? Right. So it's like the brand kind of does the selling for you at a certain point, right? You're not out there having to, pour yourself out and sell yourself. It's like people are coming to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's I would say that the pivoting point people are looking for, that the moment you can stop chasing people and that people are coming to you. That's like the ideal situation, if once you reach that point, that clients are coming to you or prospects are coming to you to work with you instead of you chasing them, and trying to get them in. I think that's an ideal situation for a lot of entrepreneurs. So how would you say that PR would contribute to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it just kind of serves the purpose of, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? It's what puts people on a pedestal, and it gives that status, right? Since, the dawn of time, resources have flowed to the people of high status. And so I think with the elevation of the brand comes the elevation of the status. So yeah, you couldn't just run a business just relying on, PR alone. So, well, actually, some businesses can, like if you're a skincare or, beauty product that's just getting circulated around all those magazines, then yeah, you probably could. But for most B2B kind of businesses, it's a really essential piece of the puzzle to get to that next level. And actually on that, like just an example of the power of brand. So the other day, our most successful client acquisition channel has been through cold email, believe it or not. And so the other day, saw an email that I got back from a guy, and he goes, "Hey, Lewis, just checked out you online, saw all your videos and your articles, really love it. Let's go, let's move forward." Right. And so it's always the indirect benefits, right? So if I reached out and like that guy looked me up and couldn't find a thing about me, he's like, "Oh, it's probably just some, random person from another country or whatever." But because I had that there, he was like, "Wow, I like that. That was valuable." And he decided to move forward.
Nice. And it's great because I also say that about your LinkedIn profile, right? If people meet you for the first time, even when you're not active on LinkedIn, if people meet you for the first time, they're going to Google you, right? And your LinkedIn profile will show on the first page. So why not make sure that once they visit your LinkedIn page, your profile, that it should confirm that it's the right thing to contact you. That's also, I would also say that that's part of your brand, And I still remember maybe like 7 years ago when I started my own business and I would Google my own name. I happen to have a person in Belgium that has exactly the same name. So I saw some hits from there was something for like Friends of Cuba. And I thought, well, I never done anything with that, so how come? And then I recognized there was a Belgian gentleman that has the exact same name as I have. But when I Google my name nowadays, I'm all over the first page of Google, so to speak. So I'm not sure if he's still out there, I'm not looking for him. But I think that's the power of building your brand, indeed, and being out there. You don't want to be the best kept secret of the internet, right?
Correct. Yeah, like you literally, one way that I kind of describe it too is you're just buying digital real estate there or building digital real estate. Like, that guy used to rank for your name, and now you've just taken that. I feel bad for people who have like a John Smith sort of name where it's the most common name under the sun because good luck, there's going to be some famous person, but yeah, it's a really great point because these days people, I don't want to say are more skeptical than ever, but people do their research, right? If you reach out to them, they're going to look you up. And if they can't find anything, chances are they're not even going to think twice. And that first impression of like a really great LinkedIn profile, I think one of the really biggest underrated things is just professional photography. Like I know just like for myself, like when I started getting professional photos, like I'd always, not always, but I'd often get people say, "Oh, I really loved your photos." And you can really tell the difference between like an iPhone camera and then like someone who's got like a full crazy lens that's longer than your arm. And like, it's just those little 1%. Everything is a percentage of everything. And if, an extra 3% of people that, see your profile decide to actually, hey, this is actually, worth my time. Yeah. Over the course of 10 years, that's going to be a lot of extra, business for you. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great to see that it seems like that more and more people are realizing the importance of, for instance, a professional photo, or having a professional brand. So if you could give a little piece of advice or tip, for the listeners on maybe PR or building your own brand, or maybe even about entrepreneurship, the lessons you've learned over the years, what would it be, Lewis?
Yeah, on the PR and branding side of things, I think just to give some like practical advice, if someone wanted to go away and start getting on podcasts and getting in media and stuff like, today, I would just focus so much on building relationships. So connect with different journalists, connect with different podcasts, so share their content, compliment them on their work and don't ask for anything, right? Just keep adding that value. It's like the jab, right hook method that Gary talks about. It's very cliche, but it works. And same in business too, right? Like I think building those relationships and connections, like it depends obviously on your business and the way you operate. But I think the more people that you can actually build a genuine relationship with, like I started doing this to another level. Like now I'm actually just like trying to meet as many people in person as possible, because Zoom is great, but when you actually meet them in person, it's another level, right? You have that, human face-to-face touch, and, it just creates that affinity where you're like, it almost makes it a no-brainer to work together when you have that level of commitment. So I think really just focusing on, humans and relationships and in every asset of the business.
Oh, that's a great advice, Lewis. And it kind of remembered me of, I'm part of a professional network. And during COVID, the whole live meetings went online. So and some other entrepreneurs joined our community. And I remember when we had our first live meeting again, and there would be a guest that came to watch my presentation. And I was talking to one other entrepreneur, and I just saw somebody entering the room. And I looked very fast and back and I thought, oh, that's the guest, right? And then I looked again and I realized that it was one of the entrepreneurs that joined during the lockdown. But I've never seen him live, right? And never seen him in person. So because you're only seeing like this part of a person on Zoom, you never know how tall or how small somebody is. So it was very interesting to notice that I thought he was bigger, and he was smaller than I am. But it's amazing what it does if you meet somebody in person for the first time. It really makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, my experience last week was on the opposite. He was so tall, it was insane. Because I'm 6'3", and the gentleman that I went and connected with, I reckon he's probably like 6'5", 6'6", which is I felt short.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen often.
No, exactly. But it's funny to how that works, I think what you shared about building relationships, that's important in all parts of your business, whether it being with suppliers or every stakeholder, actually. So would you say that being authentic helps in that sense?
Yeah, 100%. Like, authenticity is so key. Like, it's really easy to mix the message and try and, a lot of people just regurgitate other people's content and advice. And I was honestly guilty of that a few months ago. I was like, I was trying to create 3 pieces of content a day, and I would just run out of ideas. And so I'm kind of like, oh, what are these people saying? And I wouldn't do it verbatim, but I kind of take the concept and, run with it. It's obviously valuable content, but at the same time, like I switched that whole frame to like, not a like how to, but how I, right? So when you say how to be a millionaire, right? There'll be half the people who say that are not a millionaire, and they'll tell you that. So one, you just have no credibility on that. So you just won't land, right? The depth is just not there. But if you go how I became a millionaire and you are a millionaire, then it holds a whole new depth in people's minds, and it gives you so much more credibility. So I was like, how I built my business from zero to this, right? How I was able to, leverage software to scale our acquisition channel. And then when you kind of come from that place, it's a lot more authentic. And and aside from that too, just sharing like personal stories and anecdotes, I think they're the best way to show your authenticity, because anyone can just say, oh, I've done this, I've done that. But when you actually share like a real life story of that, I think that's where you really get that connection and the emotion in there too.
Yeah, it's what one of my coaches also said, facts tell, stories tell. And it's true, if you share a personal story or whatever story, then if people can associate with it, they're more moved by it, and they tend to contact you earlier or sooner. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
No
doubt.
Nice. So, Lewis, if people want to know more about you or more about Boost Media Agency or want to contact you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the best place, either LinkedIn or Instagram. Lewis Schenk is the name. I'd love to connect with anyone who needs any assistance on any kind of media, PR stuff. We've got a ton of free resources too. So if you need any help, just follow at me.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Lewis. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you liked it too. I think you're doing a great job. Looking forward how your company will evolve the coming years. Are you still doing your events company as well, or? Is it on a
So I sold,
low level?
yeah, I sold 70% of that. So I've got a business partner who runs the whole thing. We just do like a fortnightly meeting just to kind of run through things, see what kind of things we need to focus on. We had a meeting last night actually with the ads guy. We're just tweaking all the ads. So yeah, just very mildly involved. But I like that. That's kind of where I see myself in the future, is just building companies, removing myself from them, and then building something else. Like I'd be so bored if I wasn't working. Like I love golf still, but I'm like, I couldn't play more than like 3, maybe 4 days a week max. I'd just probably get bored. So yeah, I really like just building things.
Nice. Well, I wish you best of luck, Lewis. Thank you for the conversation, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks so much for the time.
I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes, because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionairelifestrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.